So, here's the thing. I'm not going to insult the intelligence of people who normally watch my videos. I'm just this small YouTuber with inflammatory opinions, and I like to post those opinions online, and it pisses off some people, which I don't mind. And it makes other people, feel closer to me in some weird way that they also share those opinions. And I'm not saying that this is like an apology video for my last video because I don't really apologize to anyone about anything, especially on the internet. But I wanted to clear some things up because I don't want this channel to be a Republican only channel or something like that. It's not my intention for that to happen. Um I don't think Democrats are dumb. Obviously I used to be one. I have friends that are Democrats. I'm able to speak Democrat pretty well. Um and I don't think that I can just change somebody's mind once they've made up their mind about something. They're not going to change their mind because, somebody threw some facts at them. That's not going to happen. And I don't know. There's an argument to be made about entertainers or comedians or whatever. Not that I really call myself a comedian per se. On this channel. There's an argument to be made to stay out of politics because it divides people. And that's kind of true, but with today's age, it's really increasingly hard to stay out of politics. Like what would I even talk about when there's all of this prime content happening around me with the world ending in front of our eyes in real time in HD quality? Way more entertaining than Netflix or Hulu or anything. So I kind of feel like it's my responsibility to capitalize on that and to just laugh at the face of danger and all of that. And yeah, labels can be helpful. But see, you'd think with all of my inflammatory opinions and controversial, you know, making fun of different internet groups and everything like that, you'd think I would lose subscribers more often from posting a video. You would think. But actually, historically, I kind of don't. I mean, it's very rare that I lose even one subscriber because of a video that I posted. More often than not, it's just a lot of dislikes and no gain subscribers. You know? And I'm growing at a pretty reasonable rate that I'm proud of. I'm not putting so much heart and soul into it. It's just the way it is. It's like a hobby that I do. But I'm pretty happy with that. But to lose 3 subscribers by coming out as a conservative, so-called, I mean, I'm a conservative leaning person right now, but to be clear, that's because of the current administration. I would totally vote Democratic again if I liked the candidate. And that's, kind of a crapshoot as far as, big presidential politics or whatever. Because more often than not, it is somebody shady who doesn't have the credentials or doesn't care or something like that. But, I mean, I know there are a lot of people who think the way that I do. And I know that because there are a lot of people who comment and say that. But the people who unsubscribed, I don't know how long they've been here or whatever, but it's just kind of ironic. Like, that's what you decide to unsubscribe on and not my other videos that I do all the time that kind of challenge the, liberal ideology. It's just littered. My channel is just littered with that, but I've never lost a subscriber from, some of my turf content, against I don't know, against kind of like glorifying the process of becoming trans, you know, like encouraging more and more and more and more people to do that, even if it's not good for them. Or my Watch Seattle Burn video, or my Watch Miami Burn video. Like those are democratic cities. Or my Biden, my robot Biden campaign video, you know? And it just it kind of makes me wonder, you know, because the people who unsubscribed, they're not going to leave a comment, you know? But I want them to, you know? I don't want to change your mind. I really don't. I just want to know what the thought process is. I grew up kind of like on the fence between the two. Um and yeah, it's kind of like a wishy-washy kind of Temple-esque thing where it's easy to just not take a position on anything. And that might do its part to not alienate people, but I I just feel kind of lonely, you know? And I know that there are other people who believe what I believe or actually see like what's happening in real time and know that the narrative that is being fed to us is complete bullshit. But seriously, I mean, whether you like have been subscribed for a long time or you enjoy my channel or believe hopefully not exactly what I believe in. I mean, everyone has varying opinions to some degree. That's obvious. And I guess what I'm saying is that it's not my goal for this to be like a homogenous conglomeration of, you know, a community that only believes one thing, because that's just kind of boring. But it really makes me wonder, like, who the, you know, morally just, completely right all the time, left-leaning Democrat, like, what's going through their mind right now, or do they even care? Is it just sort of like a, yeah, there's inflation going on, but it's all Vladimir Putin's fault, you know? Or is it, you know, oh, it's high gas prices, but we have high gas prices, but that's a necessary evil because we need to transition to electric cars, you know, as if that's gonna happen just overnight. And it just sort of makes me wonder, like, how much self-suffering is justifiable, you know? Like, what percentage of Americans actually think all of this all of this turmoil, all of this, you know, economic turmoil, really, like, that's going to be our biggest hurdle to overcome. How many people just think, yeah, none of that is Biden's fault? You know what I mean? And it's wishful thinking to think that, you know, Biden were as charismatic or as much of a leader or at any level anything like Obama just because he was the vice president, that he would actually come to the table. Biden doesn't care, you know, and I don't think he's a good representation of the Democratic Party anyway. And, you know, I'm not sharing this to like be an evangelical, you know, conservative and change people's minds or whatever, but I mean, is this what we're proud of, really? Like, I want to know. Like, tell me like one or two things that are non-social justice, sort of push people along and put a stamp on something and it means you're woke or whatever. Like, tell me a couple things that he's done recently that have helped Americans as a whole, our economy, something like that. Because, I mean, prosperity isn't racist towards certain individuals, you know, like like people on the left would love to bitch about Trump, you know, all the time while being able to afford to go out because gas was so cheap and because, you know, the stock market was doing well. Obviously, the stock market has nothing to do with everything in the day to day, but we have really bad gas shortages now, and it's because of what Biden decided to do. He decided to shut down gas production. Why? Because he's all seeing and all knowing, and it's climate change and it's evil to burn fossil fuels. So great. I mean, who is he pleasing? Who is he helping? You know, is there some alien race somewhere who's like, wow, good job, Biden. Let's exterminate, you know, 90% of humans because they can't afford food because their agricultural system is based on petroleum and made fertilizers and hauling goods via diesel, you know? And it's becoming really expensive to be like a good democratic citizen, you know? It's morally expensive. You have to be a social justice warrior. You can't even just be a good person to everybody. You have to fight the battle on the front lines. You have to pay more. And inflation is a tax on poor people. But, I mean, I kind of feel bad because the the headspace and the of being like on the left and you're not allowed to wander at all, otherwise you're ostracized basically. And I don't feel ostracized. I'm doing quite well actually where I'm at. Um but wow, the news cycles and what we're told to believe, it's just sort of like pick your truth, you know? And I can't choose the truth for other people. But I don't know, would it be better if I just sarcastically didn't announce my political beliefs and just came at it from the flank and just kind of, you know, sneaked in certain ideologies or whatever? It's funny. I mean, I think it's funny just like what a certain group gets if they just get everything they want. And great. And I'm not much of a prepper, really. I think that I'll be fine no matter what happens because I have marketable skills and, you know, I'll be employed, I'll have somewhere to stay, I'll be fine. But there are a lot of people who won't be so fine if shit hits the fan, you know? And my my point though, if I was gonna make a point at any time during this video, would be to just kind of just be nice to people even if they're a Democrat, you know? Like don't just assume that they're stupid or something like that or self-righteous, even if it might be true for that individual, but that's not how you change minds, you know, by being, you know, very forgiving and very patient and just all of those things and not so militant. I think that that's kind of what we need right now because I have very little interest in fighting a political war or trying to get people to believe something that they don't believe. That doesn't work. Or at least, you know, that doesn't seem very rewarding to me specifically, unless I'm trying to sell something, but there's nothing for me to sell right now. That's for sure. But one of the worst things is that the diesel shortages are a really big deal because everything needs to be hauled via diesel trucks. Like every single product you ever need, food, equipment, everything to run a business, that's dependent on diesel. And we're having diesel shortages because one of our plants got shut down, and it's really wacko, you know. I guess you could say conspiracy theory that certain things would close down at certain times. But with diesel shortages, that's gonna increase the price of food for sure. There's gonna be less truckers who can actually keep doing what they're doing, and that's, you know, I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but it's definitely a changing world. It's definitely, we're going through some troubling times, and there's more on the horizon, kind of. But to be nestled in your little reality of just thinking, oh, well, everybody's doing everything they can, our politicians care about us and they're doing everything they can. And there's this new, oh yeah, another thing about diesel. Um, so Europe, our European brethren, buddies, or whatever, are suffering greatly because of the boycotts on Russian oil and food and stuff like that. We're helping them out, not only by sending Ukrainians loads of money and weapons, we're also sending Europe in general a lot of diesel, which we already need. Um, but yeah, that's the price. That's the price that it takes to be, you know, a really loyal, giving, morally good, just Democrat. It's very expensive. You see what I'm saying? It's very expensive to believe that. So my question is, like, how do people justify it? Like, I really want to know. Like, what percentage of Americans are just sort of think, oh, well, this is okay. This is fine. How? Let me know. Oh, it's not Biden's fault. Well, I don't really agree with blaming everything on president necessarily. There's different forces at work, for sure. But there has to be a stopping point. And I think with more, no, I'm too short now. And I think that's why it's so, the concept of having an independent voters out there is so scary, because it all comes down, like the power trickles down, and it's very frowned upon to be on the fence when it comes to, you know, politics and stuff like that, because it's very, it probably causes, you know, whoever's in power, those shady business dudes or whatever, it probably causes them anxiety. You know, people independently thinking and researching and figuring out actually what's going on. And when this whole COVID thing was happening, I felt like so out of place, because I was watching things happen around me and watching this sort of hysterical reaction to a virus that, you know, we found out wasn't that dangerous to most people. And it was still being wielded and used to control us. And you're not allowed to speak up against it. I mean, and yeah, I do think the United States, our power and culture and cultural influence over each other is really degrading. And I don't know the cause of that per se. I mean, some people will say, oh, we're not a Judeo-Christian society anymore, we just need more church, and whatever. I'm not going to church. I think that's kind of gross, like the whole guilt and shame and everything. But yeah, it's kind of pessimistic to think of it that way. But I really wish people would vote more on issues and not color codes or certain things. And if there happened to be, I mean, probably not, because I know that, let's be real, I mean, if I did a poll, which I'm not allowed to do yet because I'm not a big enough YouTuber, but if I did a poll, probably, I think like 80 to 90% of people who watch me are, libertarian or conservative in some way, maybe some independents, but I'm definitely not somebody that some casual YouTuber who's on the Democratic side of things would ever watch. And case in point, I guess. And yeah, not to say that I miss anybody who leaves just because of one video, which, ooh, shocker, I'm not as democratic as I used to be in thought process and beliefs and all that. People change. Um, so yeah, subscribe if you're not. Comment if you just think I'm wrong or whatever. I really don't mind that. I mean, I don't mind dislikes or negative feedback in the way of just a number blip on my radar either, because that doesn't mean anything. It just means that I pissed somebody off and, ooh, they're gonna vote against me. Woo. Yeah, I would kind of prefer it if there was like some discussion and like polite disagreement or something. Just because I'm so bored, with this whole stupid ass us versus them mentality. Like, who cares? We're all Americans. Like, we all have to go to the grocery store, we all have to buy gas. But, I assume that if you already own a Tesla, before the huge microchip shortage or whatever, then you feel gleeful in that you surpass that. Well, that's just not reasonable for most Americans. There was something that Biden said about how we're going through like this big change in world order or something, and the last time was in the 1900s, early 1900s, when we had, I don't know, the Great Depression or something like that, and lots of people died, and we're gonna have that again. Like, he's basically saying like, oh, it's out of my control. It's just, people die and they have different ages where our industrialized agriculture works for a while and then it doesn't, and then whoops, millions of people just die, and that's pretty eerie. Like, I know somebody told him that, but he's not really a leader. He just kind of regurgitates what people tell him, or his handlers, or whoever the hell. I don't even know whoever the hell is actually president, but it's kind of chilling. And yeah, I know that local politics matters more because it influences the day-to-day citizen a lot more, but I just can't get into local politics for my area. It just, like, I don't care. I'm not like raising kids. I don't own property and have to pay taxes. I'm not, like, it doesn't mean anything to me. But anyway, that's it. If I don't make any sense to you and you have no idea where I got my opinions from and it just offends you, then I guess there's no reason to be here. But what can you do?